Yeah. Good evening, everybody, and welcome back to Vidane TV. Sim Racing Unleashed here at Darlington. A little bit of a throwback track here, 147 laps on tap. Showtime, Paul Strickland Jr. in the commentary booth this evening. Alongside me is Kyle Young. Kyle, how we doing here on a Sunday night? How's the weekend been?
Not too bad, Paul. Very good weekend, to say the least. My final one here at home in New York. Got the big move down to North Carolina going on Friday, so had a little farewell party with friends and family last night. Did a lot of relaxing here today. Watched the NASCAR race, and now we get to call some virtual NASCAR racing here at the track Too Tough to Tame, Darlington Raceway. We got 147 laps here. Our friends in the Fatheads Cup Series ran here a week and a half ago, so we kind of have an idea what to expect, but in a way we also don't, because you can't always compare one group to another when it comes to iRacing and how the sim racing stuff works, but it at least gives us a base idea as to what kind of action that we can expect to see tonight. And as leagues usually do, Paul, I see a full amount of throwback paint schemes on some of these guys' cars, so we'll have some fun stuff to look at tonight as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Still getting to know these guys here in the Sim Racing Unleashed. They've been with us for a handful of weeks now, and we saw the previous winner, Cedric Hunter, has actually won the last two races here at Martinsville and at Kansas. Martinsville a little bit shortened last Sunday night, and just looking through the field, I don't actually see him listed in the starting lineup here this evening, so that may be a story we'll have to take a peek at later on tonight. And we did notice that about half the field didn't actually take qualifying time, so a little bit of a random draw start, as it will, a random pill draw, if you will. But you can see up front, and we're waiting for timing and scoring to kind of update. That'll happen once the green flag drops and these drivers cross the line. A little bit of a glitch with the iRacing service, but not a big deal. But there you can see up front the number 21 car of Hunter Hayward, very strong this season, handful of wins, and on the outside of him, the current points leader, the number 77 of Mark Whitley.
Row number 2, we have Steven Stempian, and car number 81. He's going to start in position number 3, and just 0.02 of a second slower to Stempian's lap time. And car number 25, starting 4th, is Brandon Hartwell.
And I'm going to have you kind of go through that starting lineup, because I'm still trying to get it over here on my end, and it doesn't want to agree with me.
Good old technology. You gotta love it. You gotta hate it. And this is one of those times to hate it, I guess. Jason Anderson, car number 92. He's going to complete your top 5 starters, and he has the number 5 machine of Lane Doyle starting in position number 6 on his outside. Your 7th place starter here tonight in the number 91 is Braden Caress. And Luke LaFaro, I don't believe we saw him last week at the Martinsville Speedway. He will start in position number 8 in car 20. Completing your top 10 starters is Brad Delph in the 14 and Stephen Leffler in car number 72. That is row number 5. Todd Neese in the 26 will roll off in 11th. 12th place starters, Joseph McWhorter in car number 32. Nicholas Luby will match his car number and start in 13th tonight. And the final car that took a qualifying time here tonight, 14th place, is the 95 of Michael Yarrow. So we have 29 cars that are scheduled to start this race. 14 of them qualified, so 15 deciding not to take a qualifying time here tonight, Paul. So could be a bit of strategy move with it being a 147-lap race. Maybe just trying to start in the back and be patient with their race and work their way through and kind of see how things develop. Half a lap away from going green here, Paul. Nice, healthy-looking field. Bunch of race cars. Nice throwback paint schemes. Good stuff to look at. Should be a fun night of Sim Racing Unleashed action here at Darlington.
And we may have mentioned 147 laps on the docket here tonight, and that's a long way to go at Darlington Speedway, especially with how the tires seem to fall off relatively quickly, just because the track surface is so rough and gritty and hasn't been repaved in a couple of years. But there we go with the green flag. It's waving as hard as Barney can wave it, and there you can see a good start there for the number 21 of Hunter Hayward, and you should be able to see now at the very top of your screen the timing and scoring has finally caught up with us. Whoa, big wiggle there for the leader. That's going to open the door on the bottom side for the 77 current points leader, Mark Whitley, going to get up at least even to his door. Big wiggle losing the back end of that race car. Looks like he was able to gather it back up, though, here, Kyle. Hunter Hayward still back up in the point.
Field going to single file up at the front off at turn number 4. Lap number 1 will go in the books. It's the 21 of Hunter Hayward to lead it. Pretty eventful first lap there, but they're going to start to look to calm down and get into line. Very tricky to tackle this racetrack, especially down here in turns 1 and 2. You see a lot of guys at this racetrack get up there and slap that turn 2 wall. It can bite you, come out at you very quickly. And the Darlington stripe is what they call it. You get up there, get some of the wall, you're riding by the wall throughout most of this race at this racetrack. Very easy to get up there. So far, the drivers able to avoid that. But if we can develop a green flag run here and the tires start to wear away, these cars are going to become much harder to drive. And that's where you're going to see the Darlington stripes really take effect.
There you saw the 77 of Mark Whitley just kissed the wall briefly coming out of turns 1 and 2, and there you can see he's really able to get up onto the back bumper of Hunter Hayward come at the end of the straightaways here. But once he gets into the corners, he kind of lets off the throttle very early and coasts in, kind of goes all the way up on that top side. So very different strategies for the first and second cars here so far tonight. And you can see Hunter Hayward changes it up just a little bit, enters a little bit on the high side, comes down on the bottom, and there you can see Mark Whitley's really able to get right to the back bumper of that 21 machine. Doesn't quite have enough steam to get up and around him, though.
And while he's being patient here, starting to see Steven Stemping and Brandon Hartwell close in positions 3 and 4. The top two had a little bit of a break amongst themselves, and now it's becoming a 4-car breakaway up at the front of the field. Brandon Hartwell just under a second ahead of Luke Lafaro in position number 5, but those two drivers still about 10 car lengths or so away from the 77 of Mark Whitley. So now you can see the differences in the line right there too. Paul Whitley going a little bit higher going into turn number 3 than what Hunter Hayward was entering there. Trying some different lines, experimenting with this racetrack early. We made mention of it Thursday night in the NEPS race, how the dynamic track surfaces have come back. I don't really think we saw a lot of that play into that race, but I think you'll see a lot more here tonight with Cup cars on a 1.3 mile track.
Absolutely, and we can always see they've had the graphical advantage of that as the tires kind of wear off and as these drivers turn laps here at Darlington and any of the real racetracks here in the iRacing service. You get those rubber balls that kind of come off the tire and they just kind of stack up on a lot of times down on the apron, up by the wall, and it affected the cars a little bit. But now I think with the dynamic track service, now with the stuff up on the top, you're really going to be able to feel those marbles, and that's usually something we see come into effect here at Darlington Raceway.
Mark Whitley is starting to put some pressure on Hunter Hayward. He thought about going to the inside there, going into turn number 3. Didn't quite have the momentum to do so, so he drops back and plays patient for just a little while longer. But Whitley really starting to look strong here in the opening laps. Closes right up to that back bumper, just nowhere to take that momentum. He's got to back off of it and try again. He's going to maybe look for it. Here he goes down the back straightaway, trying to take over the race lead going into turn 3. Drives it in low, slides up, and we have a new race leader. Points leader Mark Whitley moves to the front of the field here on lap number 8. He will lead it and put Hunter Hayward to second.
You can already see Hunter Hayward trying to peek down low to see if he can maybe get a little bit of clean air on that nose and try getting back up around the 77. But it seems like as soon as that clean air hit the front of Mark Whitley's car, he's able to take off. He's already got a 10 to 12 car length lead over that number 21 of Hunter Hayward. So clean air definitely what the doctor ordered there on the number 77. As we work lap number 9 coming across the stripe, it's going to be 10 laps in the books here, caution free so far. So these drivers doing a great job here at a track that's real tough to tame, and really good racing so far throughout the field. It seems like a lot of these guys going single file. There you can see the third place machine of Steven Stepien, the number 81 car, a little throwback Budweiser paint scheme on there, running in the third position. The number 25 right behind him, just a few car lengths back, as you can see, trying to close up on the back bumper, backs up just a little bit and kind of gathers it back up. He's running in the fourth position. Luke Lafaro, rookie in this season, the number 20 car, the DC Solar Machine, looking pretty sporty there in the fifth position. Joseph McWhorter, running in sixth. Braden Caress in the seventh position in that 91 Red Bull machine. There you can see Lane in the five, running pretty solidly there in the eighth position. Check that. Steven Leffler in the ninth position, the number 72, and Brad Delph rounding out the top 10 so far here on lap number 11.
Didn't take long, Paul, for these guys to kind of get spaced out and separated around this racetrack. Our 26th place driver at the back of the field, 20.1 seconds off the race pace already. Whoa, contact into the outside wall. The 5 machine, Lane Doyle, he got a piece of it, got a little sideways right in front of the 72 of Steven Leffler. He was able to hang on, but Leffler now putting some pressure on, looking to the inside, and I think Doyle is just going to let him have it. Backs off, lets the 72 move on by, and that will put the Leffler machine up to position number 8. Now trying to hunt down the 91 of Braden Caress, the Red Bull number 91 on that ride tonight. So nice pass there. Lane Doyle struggling just a little bit with this racetrack, but you're going to start to see that a lot, Paul, as we continue. Whoa, he does it again. Almost gets the wall. Now he does get the wall. Big wiggle down the backstretch. He finally catches that car. He'll slide back up the racetrack, and now he has the 26 machine, Todd Neese, to his outside and forward.
Great heads-up driving by the driver of the number 5 machine. That's tough to do here at Darlington, because once you slap that wall like that and kind of get the car out of shape, you do have a little bit of space. You've got 2 or 3 lanes to try and save that, but then the track surface changes, and you've got the banking that shifts dramatically there. So once you try and get used to where you are, the banking changes, and it's hard to hold on to that race car. So big time heads-up driving there for number 5.
Couple more cars getting into that outside wall right there. Todd Neese got a piece of it. The 95 machine of Michael Yarrow got a slight little dose of some outside wallage, slowed it down and able to keep it going. How about that race car there, Paul? The 95 machine, all chrome reflective, big K. I believe that is a Darrell Waltrip throwback. Just decided to throw all kinds of chrome on it, blinding the competition with that kind of sparkle.
All that chrome on that race car, that's gotta be an extra 20-25 horsepower for sure.
And it's looking pretty good now underneath the Lane Doyle, going for position at number 11. Doyle, as we've seen, just backs off, lets him have it, slides in line. He's playing a very patient race right now. He knows he's starting to struggle just a little bit. He's being challenged by this racetrack. He's got a little bit of right side damage on that car. Just wants to kind of find his rhythm, see what he needs to learn to be better for later on in this race. And no point in racing right now when you have some things to work on.
Yeah, and a lot of these drivers you made mention have the damage on the right side of the race cars. That's going to be the pretty much the status quo of the evening. Even the best drivers, real life sim racing, usually seem to maybe not struggle with Darlington, but some guys like to lean on the wall a little bit more than others, and some drivers like myself just find that wall more often than not. So these guys doing a great job working lap number 17 green flag so far. There you can see a little bit of a wiggle out of the leader, Mark Whitley, but doesn't seem like he loses any time. And right behind him is still Hunter Hayward, about 0.4 of a second back, closing in ever so slightly. And you can see Hunter has kind of changed up his line from earlier on in the race. He is running way up towards the wall in 3 and 4 and 1 and 2. So might have something to do with the tires starting to wear off. When we saw these guys, or when we saw the Fatheads Cup Series here a few weeks ago, we did notice that after about 20 laps, the tires definitely fall off in a big way. So with this being a real long race like this, we're going to see a lot of drivers trying to hold on to those tires, but we may very well see a couple of different strategies where they can come down and maybe short pit a little bit, try and gain a little bit of time on the rest of the field with green tires.
And since we're on the topic of tires, worth noting that these drivers have 3 sets of tires in the pits with them. So I think that's a fair amount to have. Gives you plenty of tire to use throughout this race, but it's also a small enough number to where the strategy and how you decide to use them and where you take them should be an interesting factor to see how these drivers play that out and try to manipulate that to their best advantage. The gap between your top two, holding steady at about 4/10 to a half a second lead, and then you got about 3 seconds to go back to where Steven Stempy and Brandon Hartwell have been. Those two drivers have not been able to keep up with the top two. They've fallen back, but they are still fairly close to each other, only separated, well, by about the same gap that the top two are separated. And how about that 32 machine? Joseph McWhorter starting to look underneath the 81 for position 4. The 81 of Stempy gets into the wall. He is sideways, gives up the spot to the 32, and now here comes Luke Lafaro. He sees blood in the water, and he wants to attack. Hounding the 81 machine of Steven Stampian is the 20 of Luke Lafaro. He enters turn number 1 a little bit lower, sees the hole, but the 81 is going to slam the door shut, keep the 20 at bay for the moment. Whoa, he gets a little sideways off of turn 2, has to catch the car, and he's going to pull to the inside and let Lafaro go without any type of battle. So put the 20 machine inside the top 5 for the first time tonight. He is up 3 positions from his original starting spot of position number 8. So very good start so far for the 20 machine, Luke Lafaro.
Highest running rookie so far here tonight, running in that 5th position, is Luke Lafaro. And taking a look through the timing and scoring, the next high running rookie is Dylan Zelms in at the number 57 car, running in that 12th position. And 2 cars back, we've got Dakota Bryan, also a rookie, running in 14th. There you see him in the 56 Monster Machine, and then another pair of rookies back in 16th and 17th. That's going to be James Bryan and Luke Peters. Looking through, we've got Chris Miller in the 88 running in 21st, and 24th and 25th position belong to Byron Bartlett and Art Milner in the, or Art Milne in the 15 car running 25th. So rookies kind of scattered throughout the track here, and back up front you can see Hunter Hayward really starting to close that gap on the number 77 machine. Gets up to about 0.2 of a second, so he's cut that lead about in half, and you can see really starting to attack the corners just a little bit, really trying to gain some ground on the back bumper as they go around the number 15 to put him 1 lap down.
Man, what a risky place to make a pass there. That was a tight moment there for Mark Whitley, having to go to the outside of Art Milne there at the narrowest part of the racetrack there in turn number 2. Both leaders are able to sneak on by and no problems putting that 15 machine 1 lap down. They will continue on this battle. Hunter Hayward starting to close in on the race lead just a little bit. He's cut it down in half, just under 0.3 of a second, trying to get the lead back. He started on the pole, led the opening 7 laps, and then sacrificed it to Whitley on lap number 8, where Whitley has been ever since, but he's kept in touch, hasn't let him get out of his sight. And now that we're starting to get this run progressing a little bit further on, maybe the 21 machine, a little bit of a better long run car than what the 77 of Whitley has right now.
Stretching it out just a little bit, looking at a 0.3 of a second lead here, but still very early in this race. Lap number 27, taking a look at timing and scoring. Still 23 cars on the lead lap. Number 15 car of Art Milne we saw go 1 lap down just a moment ago, and Byron Bartlett, Aaron Bradford, Robert Chiswick, Buzz, and Keith Haney all retired from the race or not making the call at the beginning of the race. So still 24 cars in this race, and it seems like it's going to be one of these 2 guys up front, depending on what we have for pit stops. And that's going to be in the back of these drivers' minds, Kyle. This is definitely having a long green flag run kind of feel to it. So we may very well have some green flag pit stops, and that's a tall order here at Darlington. It's rough getting around this racetrack, but it's also rough trying to get these stock cars slowed way down to get to pit road speed and get out on pit road cleanly.
Yeah, this is probably the most difficult pit road to get onto in the NASCAR world. You see how this racetrack is. It's a very wide racetrack, but you only use the banked part of the racetrack to race on. And having to slow down to get onto the flat portion of the apron. Let's follow Mark Whitley here. We'll tell you how fast he's getting as he gets off the gas going into turn number 3. He tops out at 183 miles per hour, getting into that banking. So trying to go from 183 down to pit speed, I believe pit road speed here is 45 miles per hour. That's not easy with the way that this racetrack is designed. You got to get off the gas. Some guys, they don't even try to enter turn number 3 on the banking. They just get right down to the apron and just start slowing down immediately from there. But even still, it's difficult to do that. So if we get to green flag pit stops tonight, it wouldn't be a surprise at all to see some mistakes, and that is where you really have to make sure you are on your game and you don't throw away unnecessary time on pit road or getting to pit road.
And it's going to be there's always that one or two drivers, or sometimes a pack of drivers that pit a little bit early to try and gain some time on the track. So you always end up having a couple of drivers working different strategies where they're running up through the field as everybody else is trying to hold on to their cars with old tires. So may very well see that play into the factors as well here. Lap 31 in the books as they cross the stripe. There you can see Mark Whitley holding on to that lead, stretching it out a little bit for 3 to 4 tenths of a second, kind of back and forth, depending on which lap it is, and doing a great job. You can see a little bit loose in the back end of the race car, but here at Darlington, loose is fast as long as you can hold on to it.
It really is. Everybody knows loose is fast. Not everybody can handle that. Only the best driver is able to run on a loose race car. And lap traffic is going to become a big factor here for these top two in just another lap or so. There's 3 cars right up in front of race leader Mark Whitley that are kind of battling with each other, starting to make some passes. Another car a little bit further up the racetrack, about half a straightaway there. So the lap traffic going to play into effect here in just a moment or so. We saw how sketchy it was for them to get around some of the lappers already. They did so with ease, so hopefully it's not too treacherous this time around, as the first car that's going to be put another lap down is Mark Koschik, and the number 33 ride, he pulls over, lets him go. Hang on, Hunter Hayward sideways, gets into the wall. What a save. Loses some momentum, but doesn't lose that race car. That was a great job hanging on to that 21 Chevy.
You can see still struggling with the back end of the race car. Tires definitely starting to fall off of the 21. Big wiggles from the back, and you can see really having to kind of gingerly go into the corners there. Lost a whole bunch of time to the number 77, and you can see really just trying to ease that car around the racetrack. He is absolutely begging for a caution at this point. Wants to come down and get 4 Mr. Feelgoods for that 21 car.
Yeah, the mistake opens up a much bigger lead for Mark Whitley now. Hayward just got into the wall a little bit again, so I would assume that is going to extend. It's up to almost a full second now between your top two, the largest lead that anybody has had up to this point, working through the lap traffic on the outside of the number 24 machine of Jason Adams. Whoa, he's into the wall and sideways, gathers it back up. Lap traffic proving to be a sketchy thing to deal with so far here, Paul.
Yeah, for sure. It seems like both of the top two kind of struggling just a little bit here. And again, we made mention these tires at Darlington fall off within 30 to 40 laps in a big way, and starting to see that happen just a little bit. 77 seems to have gathered his thoughts back up, and it doesn't look like there's too much damage on the right side of that race car. But again, still working over 100 laps to go here at Darlington. I would actually be very comfortable putting down money that every car in this race that finishes going to have some kind of damage or black stripe on the right side of that car for sure.
I would agree. It's just the nature of the beast for racing at this racetrack. It's so tough to stay out of the wall and not make a mistake with such small room to work with. 36 laps now in the books. They've all been green flag. Hunter Hayward is starting to close in just a little bit on Mark Whitley once again, but it's still 3/4 of a second gap. Brendan Hartwell in the 25 machine, he's put himself into position number 3 and has a fairly good job of keeping the gap fairly consistent at 3 to 3.5 seconds back there. Joseph McWhorter, the biggest mover, one of the big movers throughout the field thus far. He is up 8 positions from his 12th place starting spot and is running in 4th. Right behind him, Michael Yarrow in the 95. He's up 11, or make that 9 positions from 14th to position number 5. So those two drivers taking good advantage of the long green flag run that we are developing here. Some more lap traffic for race leader Mark Whitley. He's got the 88 machine right in front of him of Chris Miller. Miller coming off of a strong podium finish last week at Martinsville Speedway, struggling just a little bit here at Darlington, as he's going to lose the lead lap.
Yeah, and there you can see two of my favorite paint schemes in this league so far. The 77 of Mark Whitley leading there in the old Jeff Gordon Flamer machine, and that flat black 88, man. I love how that car looks with Mark Chris Miller machine there in the 88. Just as you saw him go down a lap, but doing a great job up front here, and we can see the lead is kind of stretched back to 1 2/10 of a second. So the 21 of Hunter Hayward really starting to struggle with some of this lap traffic, and these guys want to get up towards the front, and they want to get at least be the first car one lap down to try and get that wave by if the caution does in fact come out. But at this point, they really just kind of holding on to positioning.
Yeah, at this point, you kind of have a good idea of what your car has done. If you've driven it good and have conserved some tire, you're sitting in a pretty good position right now. If you pushed it a little too hard, starting to slip and slide and struggle quite a bit. And we talked about the way that the track is going to change. Well, the weather also changes, and that has an impact on how the racetrack develops as well. Currently sitting at the moment at an 86-degree track temperature, 79 degrees outside. We're in the late afternoon setting, going into early evening. May even see this race go completely into the nighttime by the time it is over. Oh, Chris Miller just got the wall big time in the center of turns 3 and 4. He's able to keep that car gathered up and pointed in the right direction, but that was a huge hit. You can see all kinds of damage chewed up on the right side of that 88 machine. Just part of racing here at Darlington, Paul. You can't really let yourself lose focus. This isn't really one of those racetracks where you have an opportunity to kind of take a breather, a quick mental break, and relax. You got to be up on the wheel virtually the entire time you're racing here.
Absolutely. There's really not a lot of time to stop and smell the roses here. We do have a little bit of a short stretch on either end of the racetrack, but at that point, there's still the banking on the front and rear or front and back stretches there. But you're focusing in on the next turn, the next corner, and you're also trying to focus in on all the lap traffic. They're all running different lines. They're all trying to work on their own strategies as well. So there's a lot of things that you really have to concentrate on. And with these long green flag runs, it doesn't really give these drivers much time to think about anything other than moving forward.
Things starting to get fairly close for position number 4. The 32 of Joseph McWhorter is the one holding that position right now. Michael Yarrow in the 95 ride, closing in on him, trying to grab another position. They just got around Chris Miller themselves, and now only about 2 or 3 car lengths separating these two drivers as they go down the back straightaway. A little bit of a slight wiggle out of Michael Yarrow, so he loses just a tad momentum and going to follow a pretty similar line to what the 32 is. He's a little bit lower coming off of turn number 4, trying to find an edge and trying to close back in on that Mountain Dew number 32 Chevrolet Camaro. Not doing too bad of a job. Gap staying just about the same. These two cars looking very good, very competitive. They've been some of the biggest movers, as we mentioned just a few moments ago, and now they're just about ready to develop a battle of their own for position 4.
And there you can see him kind of nose to tail at that point, the 95 dipping low to maybe get a little bit of clean air on the nose of the number 95 car, but he kind of drifts right back up towards the top side of the track and falls in the tire tracks of the 32 of McWhorter. And there you can see just really using the apron at this point to kind of turn that race car. And it's not like that's any kind of out of bounds here, as if it were Talladega, Daytona, or the iRacing Super Speedway. Here in the iRacing service, drivers are actually encouraged to try and use that bottom side of the racetrack as we can. But taking a look here, it does look like green flag pit stops have in fact gotten going here. Taking a peek, the 92 is down on pit road, as is that yellow and black car in the background. I believe that's the 33 of Mark Kostick. In fact, it is. Comes down after getting 4 fresh tires. So this is really going to force some of the hands of the drivers that are up front in this field. They know these drivers are going to be coming down pit road, getting 4 fresh tires, and they're going to be much, much quicker than the drivers with older tires.
And this is where we talked about you got to make sure that you don't overcook it going into pit road, missing the pit entry, and all of that is going to be completely irrelevant if I can continue to talk about it, because there you can see the caution is out. First one of the night. We have trouble somewhere on this racetrack. Looks like it's on the back straightaway and involving one of the cars that we saw inside the top 5 earlier. The 20 machine of Luke Lafaro has found trouble on the back straightaway. I see Chris Miller is also involved. Miller has struggled throughout the race here to keep the car off the wall, Paul, and it finally has bit him. He got the wall and could not hang on anymore. He is in trouble, and will bring up the first Kong Beer Bong instant replay of the night.
Yeah, he fought the wall, and the wall won, unfortunately, and we'll take a peek at it here in a little bit of a slow motion. We'll run it at half speed, if you will, and there you can see the 88 kind of dips down low. He clips that apron or that transition between the bankings there as rookie number 20 gets right up to the back bumper, and at that point you can see the 88's really running that extreme high line. Comes down to no harm that foul, or no harm that foul, no harm that turn, but you can see the 88 goes all the way up to the wall and misjudges just a little bit, gives it a little bit of a kiss there, and as he corrects it, just kind of turns left and really had nowhere to go, unfortunately, for the 20 car being there. And you can see tries to get that thing slowed up, but the city number 24 machine of Jason Adams gives him a shot there in the front of the car. So lots of damage on the front of the DC Solar Jegs Camry. It's a good-looking paint scheme. I love that. It definitely brings the electricity, but a tough break for the rookie Luke LaFar on the number 20 car. He's got a lot of work to do to get that thing back to a competitive deal, but it looks like, Kyle, we got a lot of action going on pit road.
Yeah, no surprise here to see the field down on pit road to get their service, get 4 tires, fill that thing up with gas, and away they go. Looks like race leader Mark Whitley was able to win the battle off of pit road, just kind of circling through here to see. Well, actually, he had a huge advantage compared to the rest of the field. I think he was able to make his pit stop earlier than everybody else based on how quickly he caught the pace car. You saw that when we were just calling out the caution flag, the pace car was meeting him. The caution did fly just before he crossed the start-finish line. So as soon as the pace car picked him up, pit road opened, and he had the advantage to come on down and get his service earlier than everybody else. So a pressure-free pit stop for that 77 team, going to put him out in front, and you can see some cars out in front of him right now. Those are cars that are going to elect to take the wave around and get themselves either back on the lead lap or 1 lap back compared to what they've already lost.
So working lap number 50 of 147. Less than 100 laps to go here. They're working the first caution, and still Mark Whitley up front. Hunter Hayward second place, and third place goes to Brandon Hartwell. Joseph Gamorta running fourth, and Michael Yarrow, the number 95, rounding out the top 5. And you can see everybody's still pretty much square up front. Not a whole lot of damage, but if you look real closely, everybody's got at least a little bit of black paint or white paint from the outside wall there. But as far as the top 10 go, you can see Braden Caress in the 91 running in the 6th spot. Todd Neese in the 26 is running 7th. Rookie Dylan Zelms and another rookie, Luke Peters, running up in the top 10, the 7th and 8th positions, or 8th and 9th positions. And David Neese in the number 27 rounding out the top 10 so far, as it looks like the lights are off in the pace car. We're going to be lining them up 2 by 2.
That we will. The wave around cars will rush around the pace car and try to get back caught up to the field so they can start back up on pace. Hunter Hayward is in position at number 2. Mark Whitley still in the race lead. Brendan Hartwell, Joseph McWhorter, and Michael Yarrow. Nothing changing inside the top 5 as far as the lineup is concerned. Getting everybody doubled up and ready to go racing at the completion here of lap number 51, leaving 96 laps to go. Just went on a very lengthy green flag run. Let's see what happens now that these guys have gotten an opportunity to race for a little while. They know what their cars have, what they don't have, and now they're going to be bunched back up to create some excitement here at the Lady in Black.
And with the caution falling on lap number 50 as the pace car dips on down to pit road, really gives these drivers the opportunity to kind of split this race into one more stop coming down pit road. They know they can definitely make 49 to 50 laps, and we've got less than 100 here to go. Looks like I'm not even going to bother doing the math. Definitely less than 100 laps to go here at Darlington. Great jump there for Hunter Hayward, moving out in front of the 77, but he gets right on the back bumper and holds on. He's still trying to get around 77. Whoa, big wiggle from the 77. Loses the back end of the race car coming out of turn number 2, and it kind of jacks everybody up just a little bit as they hit the brakes to avoid any kind of calamity there, but no harm, no foul throughout the top 10. It looks like just 77 losing some momentum and some track position as Hunter Hayward crosses the stripe and leads that lap under green.
A wild save there by the 77 of Mark Whitley. That car was at least 45 degrees sideways, headed towards the inside wall, and he gathered it up. And I'm more impressed with how little momentum he lost from that. You would think that it would take a lot more speed loss to gather that car back up, but he's still only 3 or 4 car lengths behind the 21 of Hayward. So a great save, great job by the 77. These two cars trying to get back out in front like they were during that green flag run. Joseph McWhorter takes his Mountain Dew 32 machine to position number 3, got around Brendan Hartwell in that 25 ride, who was just a few car lengths back behind him, and now Braden Kress in the 91 enters the top 5 for the first time.
Pretty much status quo throughout that top 5. We can take a look from 6 on back. You can see the Chrome machine of the number 95 in that 6th position, still holding on. There you can see Luke Peters in the 50. We talked about him very briefly earlier on, and that's Worth Ford, the number 50. He's running in the 7th spot. Dylan Zelms, Todd Nees, Nicholas Luby, number 13. He's made his way up to the top 10 after that round of pit stops. And you can see pretty much throughout the field here, Kyle, it's kind of status quo. Everybody's single file and everybody given lots of room. There's a little bit of a race here for the 11th position, 11th, 12th, and 13th there on your screen. James Bryan, Brad Delphin, Lane in the number 5 car. Then there's 2 or 3 cars behind them kind of getting racy as well.
Yeah, some good racing action going on through the field, fresh off of this restart. You're watching here the 3-car battle. But whoa, hang on, 04 into the wall, nearly gets into Brad Delph. He is able to avoid that. Delph gets on by. Now Lane Doyle in the 5 gets on by. The car behind Lane Doyle, the 56 machine of Dakota Bryan, makes the pass, so a big mistake by James Bryan in the 04 machine. He gives up 3 positions, and out here comes Stephen Leffler trying to take a 4th away from that Gatorade Toyota Camry. A throwback to Darrell Waltrip in that ride. Bounces off the apron just a little bit, but looks like he's gathered his momentum back up, and he's not going to lose that spot to the 72 just yet. He's going to try to pull it off.
It's really a double-edged sword here at Darlington. You definitely want to hit the apron more than you want to hit the wall, but a lot of times if you hit that apron, it takes the entire racetrack to kind of correct yourself and make sure you don't hit that wall. You see the 32 almost does it there. He kind of clips the apron just a little bit, drifted up into the wall, and or towards the wall rather, and kind of got a little bit of a wiggle in the back end of the race car. And even that little bit of momentum loss is exactly what the doctor ordered for the number 25. Brandon Hartwell takes that number 25 right down on the bottom side, holds off, and a little bit of slide job action up in front of the 32, but move the 25 of Brandon Hartwell up into that podium spot for now.
So Hartwell returns to position number 3, going to try to do what he can to track down your race leaders, who are fairly close in competition as well. Mark Whitley is hounding Hunter Hayward for that race lead back. He's led more laps than the 21 tonight. The 21 of Hayward was able to steal the lead from him off the restart, and now Whitley trying to take it back, putting the pressure on and doing exactly what we saw him do in the beginning of this race, Paul. He closes in big time on entry, but just nowhere to really take that momentum just yet. He has to check up and stay behind.
There you can see up front the battle is getting a little bit hotter. You can see the 77 running a little bit higher than the number 21, and he's right in the back bumper within about a tenth and a half, 2/10 of a second. Really trying to get up to Hunter Hayward and see what he can do with that back bumper. Doesn't necessarily want to hit him or bump him or nudge him or anything like that, but doing his homework right now in the 77, trying to figure out where he's quicker, where he's slower, and where he might possibly be able to get around him. Also, just they're mounted and ready to make sure that he's ready to pounce if the 21 makes a mistake.
These two drivers have been fairly mistake-free up to this point, so we'll see if either one will crack under the pressure of competing with each other. Hartwell there in P3, still staying about a second back. He's opened up a 4:10 gap over Joseph McWhorter, so he's keeping that 32 behind him, but not quite reeling in these top 2 just yet. Starting to get the feeling of another lengthy green flag run here, just about 10 laps in. Well, actually, yeah, I think this will be lap number 11 of the green flag run. Whoa, big wiggle there out of Whitley. Got that car pointed sideways and gathers it back up. He is driving a very loose race car, driving the wheels off that DuPont Chevy, but he's making it fun for us. That is a fun ride to watch get around this 1.3-mile track.
Really showed his skills there behind the wheel of that 77. We can actually take a look and the onboard. Man, this Darlington Raceway is really tricky, and there you can see, especially at sunset, as these drivers are running, as the sun is setting there in turn number 1, you can see a little bit of glare and a little bit of a wiggle. Great job holding on to the steering wheel, and you can see running 9,300 RPMs as they get into turn number 1, and as the tires start to wear away, you can see just kind of scrapes and slides up the racetrack, gives the wall a little bit of a kiss. and it's almost like driving on eggshells here around the racetrack. And you can see 9,400 RPM that time headed into turn number 3. Doesn't look like the sun glare is too much of an issue at this point, but always something to keep in mind. But you can see just every time coming off of turn number 4, the back end of this race car wants to step around. And it looks like out in the distance, the 21 starting to have a little bit of the same problem. And that's one of those things that's going to make the 77 try and overdrive to try and close up on that. So we heard a lot of the Fatheads Cup Series drivers Wednesday night of last week. They said you really need to race the racetrack here. You can't really pay attention too much to everybody else that's around you. You got to run the racetrack, race the race car, and essentially find out where you're going to be from there. And that's one of the things that Willie's doing a really good job here running in second.
It's so true. It's such a difficult place to get around. If you try to get caught up in racing so hard for position and you lose your focus on the racetrack, you're going to find yourself in trouble. And Willie's just running very, very smooth right now, making a few mistakes and getting a little sideways, but you're riding on board with him with his onboard shot and really getting a good view of what he sees around this racetrack. Very, very smooth throughout these turns, and just a couple slight wiggles coming off, a little bit free on exit, and it's actually allowing Joseph McWhorter to close in a little bit. I think he might be backing up to that 32 machine as they've both lost some ground on race leader Hunter Hayward, but give it a few more laps here, McWhorter might have an opportunity to contend for a runner-up position. Brendan Hartwell and Michael Yarrow. Yarrow now gets back inside the top 5, gets that spot back from Braden Caress, and Caress is 2.5 seconds off of Yarrow, so good job there by the 95 to get back into the top 5. Slow car way down at the bottom of the safer barrier on the inside of the racetrack, keeps his momentum going, and we will stay green.
Driver's doing a great job keeping this thing clean and green, working lap number 68, going to cross the line here for the leaders, working lap number 69. Nice, as you can see, the 95 keeps marching forward, gets around the number 25 on the outside, so move Michael Yarrow up into that 4th position. He's going to try and set his sights on 3rd place. Joseph McWhorter has a little bit of distance to cover there, but you can see, seems like he saved a little bit on this run. The tires holding off run since lap 20 laps ago when they came down pit road to change 4 tires, and it looks like he might have repaired a little bit of damage with a long 29.1 second stop, but doesn't seem like it's affected his racing too much. Definitely made that car a bit quicker. You can see pulling away from the 25 and actually starting to close the gap between he and the number 32 car in front of him.
Yeah, Michael Yarrow has a very good piece underneath of him thus far. He gained a lot of track position under that first green flag run, gets the opportunity with a pit stop to put fresh rubber on that car, and continues to trek forward through the field a little bit. He's got some work to do. He's about a second off of Joseph McWhorter in the 32 machine, but he definitely has a piece worth contending with here tonight, and would not be at all surprise me if he's able to close in on 2nd and 3rd place and really have a shot to maybe even win this event here later on tonight. Getting into that green flag pace once again after that first run and getting back onto this run. 16 cars on the lead lap at the moment. We do have a few retirees, but looks like we still have at least 22 cars on the lead lap. And I'm just looking through the scoreboard here a little bit, Paul. I see this 81 machine of Steven Stempian is 13 laps down. Not exactly sure what happened to that driver, but he's sitting on pit road right now. He was inside the top 5 and was one of our top contenders. Started in position 3.
Yeah, you can actually see there's a couple of drivers still sitting on pit road. The 92 of Jason Anderson down there as well. Been there for quite some time. Looks like repairing damage on those race cars. So tough break for those guys throughout the night. Just about working halfway here within the next couple of laps, and we're also just about halfway through this tire run, or this fuel run as it were. We did see these drivers came down last time last time we were under caution. They're right around lap 50, so these drivers know they can make 50 laps on fuels and tires, and they know that they've pretty much got one more stop to go, depending on how the caution flags fly, if they even do fly. As you can see, the 32 starting to kind of move into the back of the 77, gaining a little bit of ground there, but don't look now. That 95, don't look now, because you might get blinded by all that chrome there, but he is moving up to the back bumper of the 32. He's getting very, very big in that rear view mirror of the number 32, the 95 of Michael Yarrow, coming up to the front in a hurry.
Yeah, I think he's taking advantage of some of the lap traffic these guys are having to work through and has closed the gap on Joseph McWhorter. McWhorter continues to close in on Mark Whitley. Kind of surprised that Whitley has stayed around this 1 second gap behind Hunter Hayward, maybe under that first pit stop. Hayward was able to figure something out and kind of worked on that machine, made it a little bit better to take over the race lead and stay ahead of the 77 of Whitley. But things getting pretty exciting back here for position number 2. Third and fourth are closing in. Could have a 3-car battle going on for the runner-up position here very, very soon, as we have it just crossed over the halfway mark. 74 in, 74 laps left to go. Only 1 caution. We heard that in the victory lane interviews last week, Paul, that these guys the drivers themselves were not very proud of the product that they put out at Martinsville last week, and that it was an anomaly, not something that they usually do. They were right. 1 caution in the first 74 laps of this event, a much different trend, a much different flow than what we saw a week ago.
Yeah, much cleaner here tonight at Darlington, and these drivers can definitely hang their hats up tonight knowing that they've put on a good show. And you heard it in the voices of everybody we talked to after the race last night. A lot of the drivers apologizing for the show they put on. They know that they definitely could do better than what they did, and definitely showing it here tonight after seeing these guys practice before the race, before qualifying here this evening, and just kind of keeping up with all the drivers' group chats throughout the different social media outlets. A lot of practice laps got turned this week at Darlington Speedway, and it's definitely starting to show here as the cream kind of rises to the top. Hunter Hayward and Mark Whitley 1 and 2 in points, or 2 and 1 in points as it were. Mark Whitley currently leading by 9 points over Hunter Hayward, and we can see Joseph McWhorter there running in the 3rd position. He's currently 4th in points, and he is about 35 points out of the lead, 12 points out of that 3rd position, who is Josh Jones. Sifting through the field here, I don't actually see Josh Jones listed as running tonight, so going to end up being a great points day here for Joseph McWhorter. He's going to probably slide himself up into the top 3 in points, and we'll see where that brings him. But so there you can see the battle on your screen. Speaking of 3rd, Joseph McWhorter now under attack from the number 95 of Michael Yarrow, all over the back bumper of the 32 Mountain Dew machine. He wants to move into that podium spot. He wants to talk to us after the race here, Kyle.
Doing a great job of working towards that up 10 positions from 14th, looking for position number 11 from the 32 of Joseph McWhorter. McWhorter's going to get into the wall sideways. That's going to cost him some momentum. Great save, but here comes Michael Yarrow to the inside, and he's going to pull up next to the door, going down the front straightaway. What happens going into turn number 1 here? Looks like McWhorter's going to give him the space and quickly drops down right behind the Kmart number 95. So put the 95 into 3rd place. Gets that spot away from Joseph McWhorter, and now the 95 is going to have his sights set on the 77 Mark Whitley and try to hunt him down for position number 2.
That 95 car looking bad fast right now, and you can see already putting a little bit of distance, easy enough for me to say, putting a lot of distance between he and the 32, and really already closing in on the number 77 of Mark Whitley. You can see each and every time we look at that far corner shot, the gap is just a little bit smaller. So definitely shows that this driver put in a lot of practice time this week at this racetrack, and that's one of the things you really need to know. You need to go through and do your studying and know what the car is going to do on old tires, and know what it's going to do 30 to 40 to 50 to 60 laps into a run, because you need to be able to plan that out. If you can come down and know that, okay, you're on a 30-lap run, you're pitting in 20 laps, and then you've got 47 laps to go to the distance, you've already run 50 laps twice on a set of tires, so you kind of know how the car's going to react, as long as you don't pick up any additional damage or any debris in the grill or anything like that. Or if the track doesn't change or the weather doesn't change, you kind of know what you're going to be dealing with towards the end of the race, as we see the 95 just really hammering down. He's running kind of the low to middle groove there as the 77 is running up towards the top. But the 95 of Michael Yarrow is coming in a hurry. He is closing in. Looks like 8 to 9, maybe 10 car lengths, but that gap is closing very, very quickly. And it's going to close even quicker. 77 up into the wall pretty hard. Loses a whole bunch of time, and that's going to bring the 95 right to his back door. The back bumper there. He's going to shoot down low. I don't really foresee the 77 giving him too much of a fight here. He's going to move up onto the high side. And the 95, there you see, stuck in the wall glue again for the 77. Still not able to get the 95 car around, but that's definitely in the back of Mark Mark Whitley's head. He knows he hit the wall. He knows he made a mistake. He knows he screwed up, but he's still trying to hold on to that P3 position or the P2 position. And Michael Yarrow just kind of backed up a little bit. He's going to let him do his thing and just wait. He's going to wait for another mistake, or he's going to wait and see where he's stronger to try and get around him.
Yeah, he's put in a lot of work here. Doesn't want to get too aggressive with the battle and make a mistake and cost him his race. Whitley is all sorts of struggling as he gets into the wall. Again, he knows that if he can stay patient, Michael Yarrow should be able to make this pass on Mark Whitley when the time is right. Of course, he doesn't want to lose too much time on Hunter Hayward. This battle is now 2.5 seconds off of his lead, but still a lot of laps left to go. It'll be 62 remaining when they come around and hit the line this time to complete lap number 85. So we went back green flag racing at the completion of lap number 51 here, Paul. I would think that maybe these guys are going to think about pitting somewhere in the 10 to 15 lap range, try to split this run right in half and see what they can do. So if we can stay green, I would expect those green flag pit stops to start somewhat soon.
Absolutely. There you can see the pass for second place finally happens right before our eyes. Trying to get up there and slide up in front of the 77, but the 77 is going to dip right down in the tire tracks on the 95. So move the 95 of Yarrow up to the second position and Whitley back to the third. Both of these drivers chasing down Hunter Hayward and the 21 car, doing a great job. Currently sporting a 2.5 second lead over these two drivers, and just kind of comfortably having himself a Sunday evening drive. Doesn't look like he's dealing with too much lap traffic at this point, but like you said, Kyle, we're working very quickly towards pit stops here, green flag pit stops, and within the next 10 to 15 laps, like you made mention, but there's always those one or two drivers mid-pack or towards the back that are going to try and come down a little bit early, maybe sneak a few laps of better lap times to try and make up some track position. But it's one of those deals where if you pit too early, your tires fall off. You don't have anything for the end of the race if the caution doesn't come out. So kind of another double-edged sword here at Darlington. Do you pit early? Do you pit with everybody else? Do you maybe stay out and hope for a quick caution? There's a lot of different strategies you can do, especially with everybody being pretty much evened out.
And at this point, it's safe to assume that the majority of these drivers have two sets of tires left in the pit. So you really don't have to worry about that too much. You take one here during this green flag stop, and then if you get a late caution flag, you have another one sitting in the pits for you to use if need be. So this is going to be very fun to see how this green flag pit cycle plays out, what it does for these leaders, if it brings anybody else in, if anybody makes mistakes, and it kind of opens up the field a little bit. It should be fun to follow. Expecting them to start maybe coming down between laps 95 and 100. That'd be right about halfway. We've been green flag for just about 40 laps now. The completion of lap number 97 would be 50 laps to go, and that would be about 47 laps into this green flag run. So I would say, probably around laps 95 to 100, maybe towards 105 is when we can start to see these guys coming down for the green flag pit stops for tires.
And before we get down to pit road, we can take a quick look at the top 10. There you can see Hunter Hayward, 2.1 seconds now the gap between he and second place Michael Yarrow. There you can see the 95 machine plugging along, trying to close that gap just a little bit. Really excited to see what the 95 car, gets a little bit of that wall there. It's making the sparks fly and making them kind of reflect on that chrome paint scheme. That's a good-looking race car there. But there you can see Mark Whitley still in the third position, holding on to it. Joseph McWhorter, he's running that 32 machine in fourth. And there we see the number 25 of Brandon Hartwell still holding on to the top five, doing a really good job. Car looks like it's in one piece so far, so good news there. And Dylan Zelms, highest running rookie right now in that number 57 Budweiser machine, doing a great job here tonight. Todd Neeson, the 26 Publix Camaro, there you can see he's running in the 7th position. 8th place, check that, Braden Caress. There you can see the 91 Red Bull. We talked about him a couple of times earlier on this evening. Nicholas Luby in the 13, doing a good job in the Suave Men car. Everything looks pretty good. Scrapes the wall just a little bit, and you can see there was a little bit of damage on the right-hand side of that race car as he comes on by, but nothing that's going to slow him down too much. And backing into the 10th position, the number 72 of Stephen Leffler. Same deal. Car looks like it's in one piece. Little bit of crumpled up sheet metal and some scrape marks on the right side of that race car, but doesn't really appear to be slowing him down too much. And just kind of looking at timing and scoring here, 14 drivers still on the lead lap, and the next 3 guys in line, rookies here this season: Luke Peters, Dakota Bryant, James Bryan in the 04 car running in the 13th spot, and Brad Delph in the number 14, actually coming down pit road. He's the last car on the lead lap, so that's I think that's going to force the issue. We can see Luke LaFaro having some trouble earlier on tonight. A lot of damage on that race car. He's going to come down pit road as well. So I got a feeling that's going to force the issue here and have some of these drivers up towards the front come down pit lane, as we can see the 14 and the 20 already down there.
Yeah, it'll be fun to see if this kicks off the green flag pit cycle. This is a little bit earlier than what I thought would happen, but these drivers are running a little bit further off of the leader's pace. Luke LaFaro still off of the lead lap from his incident that brought out the only caution thus far tonight. Brad Delph was on the lead lap, running outside of the top 10, so maybe an early pit stop here can get some of these drivers to come in earlier with him and give him an opportunity to contend for a top 10 spot and maybe finish a little bit better than what he would have in that AAA Mark Martin throwback Ford Mustang. We're watching our race leader, Hunter Hayward, right now. He has led every lap of this green flag run. And once again, Paul, we get ready to start talking about green flag pit strategy and the caution flag flies to ruin all of that. We have trouble on the racetrack. Yellow flag has flown. It's the back straightaway once again. Dylan Zelms in car number 57 has found trouble and tore up the rear end of that race car quite a bit. Looks like he made a mistake trying to get around the 15 of Art Milne, got into the outside wall, and then had a meeting with the inside wall. You can see the damage on the rear end of that machine as we get ready to kick it over to the Kong Beer Bong instant replay. Once again, Paul, the lady in black strikes back and takes out another car.
And we can see there's a little bit of damage on the 57 kind of all the way around, but nothing too crazy. You can see gets around the 15 pretty cleanly here, but as he comes across the corner, just really smacks that outside line or out that outside wall. Another tap there. That was more of a T-bone. Oh, the 15. Couple of cars really skating by the skin of their teeth there on the outside, and just something definitely broke on the 57. You can see really getting stuck in the outside line or the outside wall there. So that's a tough break for rookie Dylan Zelms, the 57 machine. Like you mentioned, there's the back end of that race car. That is all tore up, and currently scored the last car on the lead lap. He's going to come down pit road, try and get this thing repaired, but it's going to be a tall order here with right about 50 laps to go, and again, it looks like everybody has come down pit road, and we made mention that's going to kind of change out the strategy a little bit that we were thinking, but gives the drivers an opportunity to come down, not waste any time, and get going here, get some service done to the race cars, 4 tires and fuel for pretty much the entire field, it looks like.
Yeah, you would think that at this point we will be beyond the 100 lap mark once we go back to green flag racing, and the green flag runs have been very similar to what will be remaining for this race. So I would imagine that this is going to be the final pit stop for these drivers, barring any more caution flags that could potentially throw some more strategy into play here. So could give these guys an opportunity to race it heads up. We've seen a very interesting, very different 2 runs in this race. The first run of the race was heavily dominated by Mark Whitley. He had to make the pass on Hunter Hayward, who started on the pole, did so on lap number 8 and led the way for that first run. And then on run number 2, Hunter Hayward, he had a better start on the restart, took the lead away from Mark Whitley and opened up a pretty sizable lead over the 77 and the 95 of Michael Yarrow, moving his way up through the field as well. He was second. Looks like he comes off the pit road in position number 4, so he drops a couple positions in that number 95 ride. So should be fun, should be competitive to see if which of the top two are going to come out ahead on this run, if Joseph McWhorter or Michael Yarrow can get involved in the battle. Brandon Hartwell still inside the top 5. A couple other guys inside the top 10 that are going to try to do their best to contend here. Todd and David Neese are 6th and 7th, and we'll kind of wait to see how everything else shakes out, because we've got some cars up in front of the leaders here getting ready to take the wave around and seeing just exactly how everything lines up after these pit stops.
Absolutely, and getting ready to cross the stripe here for lap number 147 left to go here at Darlington for Sim Racing Unleashed, and pretty much been the 21 and the 77 up front all night long. The 32 of Joseph McWhorter moving his way back into third position after those pit stops. Michael Yarrow slips back to fourth, and Todd Neese moves himself. Oh no, check that 25. 25 car of Brandon Hartwell moves into the fifth position as the lights are off on the top of the Mustang pace car, lining them up 2 by 2 once again here. And I just want to give a shout out to everybody out there watching in the social media land over on Facebook, YouTube. YouTube has quite a few viewers over there as well as Facebook. I want to thank you guys for tuning in here tonight. If you could just do us a quick favor, hit the like button, the subscribe, all that good stuff, and most importantly, hit the share button. Let your friends and family know you're getting ready to watch 47 laps of green flag racing here at Darlington, brought to you by the Sim Racing Unleashed drivers, and we're really looking forward to the end of this race and lots of exciting stuff coming up here this week on Vidane TV, and lights back on the pace car, so it looks like we're going to get the field kind of sorted out towards the back. A couple of drivers not quite lined up where they need to be, so the race officials deciding to add one more lap of yellow flag to this caution.
Yeah, it gives the waiver on cars an extra opportunity to bunch up with the field, make sure that they can get this field packed tight and have it as competitive as can be for the ending of this race. So now with the extension, we will see 46 laps of racing left to go in this one. The only lap leaders of the night have been your front row cars, the 21 of Hunter Hayward and the 77 of Mark Whitley. We've seen Joseph McWhorter and Michael Yarrow, how strong those cars have been. Those two, some of the biggest movers throughout this race thus far. Joseph McWhorter started back in position number 12. He is up to third right now. And Michael Yarrow started in 14 and is running in position at number 4. Brandon Hartwell has been inside of the top 5 for the entirety of this race. Hasn't really had the speed to contend for the lead just yet. Maybe this opportunity under caution was his chance to make that car a little bit better. Should be a little bit more aggressive here, getting down towards the end of it, but still 46 laps to go. That's a lengthy time here on a 1.3 mile track. It'll be interesting to see what happens on this run.
For sure, and we're going to see the iRacing Mustang pace car take that hard left turn down pit road. We're going to see some green flag racing. A little bit of a connection issue, it looks like, for the 91. Hopefully that gets sorted out. But a nice slow start here, bringing them down, and there you can see the engines have fired. The loud pedals have been smashed. 2177 is drag racing down in towards turn number 1. Give the early advantage to the 21 of Hunter Hayward. Going to pull out by about a half a car, but that high side really where you want to be, and it looks like caution has come out once again. And we're going to take a look, see if we can find out exactly what went down there, Kyle.
No green flag run this time. We got a handful of cars that are in trouble over in turn number 1, and I believe it started once again with the 57 machine of Dylan Zelms. He got himself turned around by the 56 of Dakota Bryan, and that happening right in the middle of the field. The 57 gets into the outside wall. The 24 has to scatter to avoid. So we'll take you through this here. The Kong Beer Bong instant replay. Watch the 57 of Dylan Zelms, the black and green car, the 56 of Dakota Bryan right behind him. I think maybe the connection issue there with Braden Crest kind of spooked the 57. He checks up going into turn number 1, and he gets turned by the 56 of Dakota Bryan. And there you can see the 24 machine of Jason Adams. He spins off the front end of the number 88 machine, and that City Chevrolet goes for a ride. Chris Miller also getting spun around. Lane Doyle gets a piece. Oh, no, he actually avoided the 88, who took a wiggle and a swerve, but is able to gather that race car up. Nice job by him to save that car after contact with the 24 Jason Adams. And how about Lane Doyle there in the 5? Hard on the brakes, watches the 88, corrects it, and is able to stay out of the mess himself. I think a few other cars that had to drive through the incident had some problems, and watch this. This is from the number 5 of Lane Doyle. 24 down low, 88 is all sideways, sawing on that wheel, trying to get away, but the 88 saves it and saves that Levi Garrett number 5. If that 88 car goes around there, Paul, I think Lane's in trouble.
Yeah, for sure. We'll just take one more quick look at the 88s on board, and you can see 24 had really nowhere to go. Comes down across the nose of the 88 and does a good job holding that thing down. Man, just really sawing on that wheel, getting it pointed in the right direction. Heads up driver from Miller in that number 88 car. Very good job there. And right now, being scored the first car one lap down, so in position to get that lucky dog. I don't know if he'll get it this time, but if the caution does in fact come out once again, he is in a great spot to take that lucky dog and get himself back on the lead lap.
So we'll see how things work out here. Get the field kind of reworked, re-lined up, and back to racing. If you're these guys up towards the front, I would think that maybe this caution's a bit of an advantage. Choose up a few laps that you would have had to run under green, and saving the tires for a few laps might mean that you can drive it a little bit harder on this upcoming green flag run. So fairly even start that last restart there between our top two. Mark Whitley did a very good job of getting some good outside lane momentum. I did see him wiggle just a little bit going into turn number one, and I thought maybe for a second he was going to wipe himself and the 21 out and throw the whole race completely upside down, but he did a good job of saving that car. We've seen that machine sideways a lot tonight, so not at all surprising to see that happen again. And if anybody's going to save a loose race car, it's going to be that 77 of Whitley, seeing that he's been driving one throughout the majority of this race. It looks like the 25 of Brendan Hartwell was able to sneak fourth place away from the 95 of Michael Yarrow there on that quick green flag blitz, and puts the 95 back to position at number 5. Some different names inside the top 10 now that we haven't really talked about. Nicholas Luby in car number 13. He's going to be 6th place. The 50 machine, Luke Peters, the highest running rookie in this event, running in 7th. Todd Neese dropped back to 8th there. Stephen Leffler in 9th. And Dakota Bryan is in position number 10 after being involved in the cause of that incident. So there's a rundown of your top 10. Lights are off on the pace car. We're going to try this one again, and we will do it with 41 laps of green flag racing to come here at Darlington Raceway for Sim Racing Unleashed.
Status quo up front, still the 21 is starting in that first position. Hunter Hayward doing a great job holding onto that lead for this pretty much the second half of this race. The 77 Mark Whitley starting on the outside line there. The 32, the 25 out in that second row. The 95 and the 13 in the third row. So going to be exciting here. Less than 40 laps to go. Actually, just about 40 laps to go as they cross the stripe. And we're going to see that Mustang pace car take that left-hand turn. Nope, just kidding. I think we're still in the backstretch.
That we are. Paul getting a little ahead of himself. But hey, you can't blame him. It's been a fun race to watch.
I'm excited, man. This has been a good race so far here tonight. So there we go. We're going to take that left-hand turn off of the iRacing Mustang pace car. I didn't lie to you. I was just off by about a half a lap. But 77-21, these guys are going to give us another restart. There you can see the pack stands here at Darlington Raceway. Flashbulbs in the air, and these drivers giving them something to take a picture of. And there you can see 77 has the advantage just a little bit going into turn number 1 as he's got that grip on the high side, and he's going to try and hold on all the way up by the wall to see if he can get around. Little bit of contact between the 77 and the 21. The 21 has to get out of the throttle just enough for the 77 to get on by, and that's going to give him a little bit of an advantage, 3 or 4 car lengths now. But you can see the back end of that 77 is still pretty loose as he comes out of turn number 4, crosses a stripe, leads lap 107 under green, and working lap number 108 now. And you can see the 32, he's hungry. The Joseph McWhorter machine has 4 fresh tires, as does everybody else from about 10 laps ago. And we've run most of those laps under caution. So really starting to bump the heat up in the tires, getting the grit back in there. And the 32 wants to come up here and play and try and get one of these top 2 positions.
Very interesting how these restarts have had an impact on the race lead. Mark Whitley goes back out to the point. About half a second behind is Hunter Hayward. Joseph McWhorter trying to track him down in position in number 3. And this is go time here, Paul. Well, never mind. It's actually caution time. Caution flag number 4 will fly here at the Darlington Raceway. We got some action going on over there in turn number 2, it appears. Trying to see who it is that's in trouble, and it's the 27 machine in their caution flag. So gives us another time to go through a Kong Beer Bong instant replay. So taking you through it here, not exactly sure where at this point of the incident is. This might be beyond after the contact had happened between him and Brad Delph, so
We actually,
I think it is.
we had to back it up just a little bit to kind of show you what was going on with the 27 car. As he comes into the corner here, you can see he kind of skates up towards the high side, and that's one of the things with slow motion is it's hard to talk the regular speed and be in slow motion. But here you can see loses the car just a little bit as he comes out of the corner, and got the slow motion. We'll give it to you in real time. It's the apron, and I may have actually backed it up a little bit too far because what I was about to explain didn't happen that time by. And there you can see just kind of the car seems to be a little loose in the back end. They're actually coming down to caution, so yeah, okay. Yeah, we're in the wrong spot there, so we'll figure out exactly what went down with the 27 car. We know it was definitely the 27 that had a little bit of a mishap and kind of pointed himself in the wrong direction, but we'll back it up and had just a little bit of help. It wasn't a whole too much, but see if we can figure out what the deal was there. There we go. So we'll pull that up, and there you can see the 27 has the 14 right behind him, right on his back bumper, and gets just a little bit loose, and the 14 really had not much time to react, so the front of that car was there and unfortunately got hooked up with the rear quarter panel of the 27, got him sent on around, and the front of the car doesn't look too bad, but the back of that car absolutely smoked. You can see caved in just a little bit, and that Westrock logo kind of slanted just a little bit. So big time damage on the 27. The good news is he is going to stay on the lead lap, but at this point it looks like he's going to come down pit road one more time and try and get that thing cleaned up just a little bit, get some of the sheet metal straightened out, and possibly throw some tires on as well if he's got any left on pit road. But tough break for David Neeson, 27.
Yeah, not at all how he wanted things to go here. Was running fairly decent and now down on pit road for some damage repairs. So he will try to get that Westrock number 27 machine fixed up and back out onto the racetrack here to try to compete for a strong finish. And getting into a little bit of a yellow fever towards the end of this one. Not like it's completely surprising. Things get a little more intense as you get down towards the end of this race, and it'll be fun now to see what happens on this restart. These restarts have been very important to determining the race leader coming off of the starting line. So I believe that there is no lane choice in this league, so that's going to put Hunter Hayward back at the top, and I think that top's been a little bit better for grip and for launch speed. So does Hayward take it back? Does Whitley kind of learn something from that outside line and try to apply it down to the bottom to be able to give himself an opportunity to hang on to this race lead? Either way, it's going to be highly entertaining and put on a good show here. Lights are off on the pace car. 34 laps to go when we go green flag.
And there you can see kind of status quo up front, 21.77, 32.25, and the 13 of Nicholas Luby moves himself into the 5th position. There you can see the number 50 running in the 6th spot of Luke Peters, the highest running rookie. We'll take another quick look at the rookies. Dakota Bryan in 9th, James Bryan in 10th. 13th has Dylan Zelms, and Chris Miller, having a little bit of issues earlier, is running in the 15th position. Luke LaFaro running 20th, and Art Mild, the last one rookie on the track, running in the 20th position. So good showing for the rookies here, and a lot of relatively clean cars up front as far as the noses go. But like we've mentioned a couple of times here, Kyle, as they kind of come around here through the turn, you can see a couple of scrape marks, a couple of little dings and dents on the right sides of those race cars, but doesn't really slow them down. It just kind of makes them a little bit narrow so they can put them in spots that they don't normally fit. But there goes the iRacing Mustang pace car. He's going to dip down hopefully for the last time here tonight. Going to get some green flag racing in. 77 down low, 21 up high. Green flag flag in the air, a little bit of a spun tire from the 32 it looks like, but no harm, no foul. And again, give the advantage slightly to the 77, but Hayward on the high side really has the advantage. He's going to dip down low, try a little bit of a crossover there, see if he can get below the 77. Doesn't look like it's going to work that time by. There you see in the distance a little bit of a wiggle from the third place driver of the 32. Opens the door for the 25. 25 of Brandon Hartwell going to try and move into that podium position. Business really starting to pick up here at Darlington, Kyle.
Indeed it is. Whitley hanging on to the race lead, trying to pull away from Hunter Hayward, but Hayward getting aggressive here, trying to do his best to take over the top spot once again, but it's not working. Whitley is starting to pull away here, opening up just a slight little gap. Look at that battle for position number 3. Joseph McWhorter has a back bumper full of Brendan Hartwell. He's able to create some space going into turn number 3 this time, and out here comes Luke Peters. Haven't talked much about him. He is inside the top 5 for the first time in his Worth Ford Mustang, trying to make some noise and get himself a good finish. He's up from position number 16 at the start of this race, so coming alive at the right times here. 31 laps to go, and they come back around to the stripe. The 50 machine of Luke Peters, a rookie, the highest running rookie in this race at the moment, trying to take a top 5 finish and look for some more.
And as the race cars go around the track, you can really see the different camera angles on that number 50 column. I'm not seeing any damage all the way around that race car, so that's definitely good news for the number 50. Luke Peters really showing what he's worth here. Nailed it. Cheap sponsor plug. But doing a great job holding on to that 5th position. Doesn't look like he's got too much of a threat from the back. You can see the number 13, Nicholas Luby's moved himself into the top 10, running in the 6th position. Behind him, the 72 and the 26. Stephen Leffler, Todd Neese kind of going back and forth a little bit for 7th and 8th. Back there, Dakota Bryan in the 56. The next rookie running there in the 9th position. And there you can see Lane behind him in the 5 car, rounding out the top 10. So a couple of new names in the second half of the top 10, but it's all the same up front, kind of status quo, as we've mentioned time and time again here tonight. Mark Whitley and Hunter Hayward, kind of the class of the field here at Darlington, running 1 and 2. We made you mention a couple of times before, Joseph McWhorter in that number 32 is hungry. He wants to try and move up into these top 2 spots and try and win this race, but tall order, and you can see he's already got an order of the number 25, Brandon Hartwell. He's hungry as well. He's in the 4th spot. He wants to get one of those podium finishes. Come talk to us here in the post-race show here on Vidane TV.
And he's been in and out of that podium position throughout this race. Him and Joseph McWhorter have been battling quite often inside the top 5 here. Hartwell, a little bit of a better rundown on the bottom there, coming off of turn number 4. Closes the gap to the 32. Just about half a car length separating those 2 drivers. Not enough space for him to fit in underneath just yet, so he'll have to try to develop a run here through turns 1 and 2. And he gets a good run there. Going to go to the inside, down the back straightaway. Here we go. Side by side for position number 3. Brendan Hartwell down low. Drives it in deep and makes the pass. Joseph McWhorter trying to stick to the top side, build up some momentum, and return the favor off of turn 4. Not going to work. Hartwell to position number 3 with 27 laps to go.
Picking him up and putting him down, and now setting his sights on that 2nd position of Hunter Hayward, and we'll see if he's got enough time to get there. Running into about 25 laps to go here as they cross the stripe, and the 25 definitely does look strong. You can see he is pulling away from McWhorter in the 32 and starting to kind of pull up on the back bumper of Hunter Hayward. It's one of those things, though, Kyle, if we go green, I think he's going to have enough time to get there, not quite enough time to get around him, because Hunter Hayward definitely been very, very strong, especially on these long green flag runs.
Yeah, it'll be really interesting to see what happens here if the 25 can get up to that 21 machine. He knows he has to make quick work of him if he wants an opportunity to win this race. Mark Whitley up at the front of the field, 0.6 of a second ahead of the 21 of Hunter Hayward. It's been very fascinating to watch this battle between these top 2. It seems that whoever, minus the first run, of course, whoever gets the launch off the restart has been able to stay ahead and has been able to lead this race. These guys haven't really been around each other too much. They keep the gap very, very close, and then it seems to open up as the race or the run continues on. But there hasn't really been a lot of battling between these top 2 other than that first run of the race during the 7th and 8th lap earlier on. It seems that once that driver gets
We can see the 25 car really starting to slowly reel in the 21. Brandon just seems like he's really up on the wheel, and he's holding the wheel. We're actually going to ride on board with it. We can see 9,500 RPM as they get towards the end of the backstretch there, really making these cars work. And there you can see just a little bit of a wiggle from the 21, and that is blood in the water. We've heard that term a time or two here at Darlington. As soon as you can see the left side of that race car from inside the cockpit from behind, you definitely want to drive just a little bit harder. And there you can see really starting to get bigger and bigger, that 21 is, in the windshield of Hartwell's machine. Great corner there. You can see he's going to close right into the back bumper as they get into turn number 1. And you can see these two drivers are starting to close in on the leader as well. Kyle, we may very well have a three-way battle for the lead.
Ooh, and Mark Willie just got big-time sideways coming off of turn at number 4, so that's going to cost him just a skosh of momentum and potentially close that gap up even more. Brandon Hart, he is continuing to track down the number 21 machine of Hunter Hayward. He is looking better now than he has all race long. He's got a piece to compete with, and he wants to go after position number 2. 3 car lengths separating the 21 and the 25 with 21 laps to go here at Darlington Raceway. These 3 cars pulling away from the field behind them. A second and a half back is the 32 of Joseph McWhorter. So if that 25 can get to the 21, you know he's going to race him hard, and you know he's going to go after that spot.
Absolutely, and really getting down to the nitty-gritty and the end of the race here tonight. And this guy's really put on a great show here at Darlington so far here this evening. But it doesn't mean that the show is over. Still 20 laps to go, and it's anybody's ball game at this point. Pretty much here at Darlington, if you're on the lead lap with the rest of the field, you still have kind of a shot. But at this point, it's really going to be difficult to get past these top 3 drivers, Mark Whitley, Hunter Hayward, and Brandon Hartwell. Really just putting on a clinic here, as you can see. Hunter Hayward gets slowed up with the lap traffic just a little bit. Brandon Hartwell is going to try and take a peek down low. 21, big wiggle out of the back end of that number 21 car, losing a lot of momentum. There you see the 25 has to shoot all the way down to the bottom of the racetrack to avoid any kind of collision. But the 25 is hungry. The 25 knows that Hunter Hayward has really been struggling the past 2 laps or so, and wants to try and capitalize, but he also knows he needs to take care of his equipment. He needs to make sure that he keeps the wheel pointed straight and pointed that car in the right direction. So he's going to back up just a little bit, back to the drawing board as you will, and he's going to try and follow the tire tracks for a few more laps here on the 21.
They're losing some time to Mark Whitley. The gap is now 1.6 seconds between the 21 and the 77. This is for position number 2. The battle hasn't started yet. Brendan Hartwell trying to do his best to put the pressure on. Less than 20 laps to go in this race. The gap back to Joseph McWhorter has closed just a little bit as well, so maybe that 32 machine is about to make a late race push to try to take over a podium position, get that spot back from Brendan Hartwell, who took it away roughly 10 laps or so ago. So things starting to calm down just a little bit. These two dropping off of Mark Whitley's pace. Brendan Hartwell not quite able to close the gap and it put up a fight for position number 2. It'll be 16 laps to go when they hit the stripe this time by. Time is running out for that 25.
Backed up just a little bit too far to kind of gather his thoughts, it looks like. Still enough time to get there, but not quite enough time to possibly get around him. And we can see Hunter Hayward really in defense mode at this point, running in that second position. Still has about a 1.6 second gap between he and the leader of Mark Whitley. There you can see Mark Whitley in the number 77 machine. Just kind of clean cruising right now. No lap traffic to deal with out front. Really running the high line, and you heard him. He backed out of the throttle very, very early, getting into turns 3 and 4. Doesn't want to make a mistake. You can see that car still very, very loose on older tires. So trying to limp this, not necessarily limp it home, but trying to keep it in one piece and try and not make any kind of mistakes for anybody else to capitalize on. So it looks like Mark Whitley doing a great job holding on to that first position. And there you can see the 21 really in defense mode. Hunter Hayward trying to hold off the 25 of Brandon Hartwell.
And Hartwell is back on the attack. He's really in that 21. Hayward slides. He is in the safer barrier. Going to lose a lot of momentum. Sideways again off of turn 4. Hang on, Hunter Hayward. Hartwell trying to get to the outside. He is there for position number 2. Neither driver going to back off at this point. The outside line is going to work, and Hartwell goes to position number 2 off the mistake from Hunter Hayward. That could have gotten really, really bad. But now the 25 of Hartwell is in position number 2. Does he have anything for race leader Mark Whitley? The gap is 2.5 seconds after the pass. We'll see what it is as the 25 comes to the stripe. 13 laps of racing left to go. What it is now 2.7 seconds between your top two. 2.7, so Whitley pulls ahead by a few more tenths, trying to continue to extend that lead and doesn't want an opportunity for Brandon Hartwell to try to take it away from him.
Getting down to just about 10 laps to go here. Mark Whitley holding on to the lead, but Brandon Hartwell, coming in a hurry. Got that lead down to 2.5, 2.6 seconds here. It's a long way to go and a short time to get there, but that 25 has been absolutely fantastic on this run. Really good set of tires on that race car. They may have made a couple of adjustments to that car, but really worked his way up all the way through the top 5, currently running in that second position. Just got around Hunter Hayward after a brief little mistake from the number 21, getting up into that safer barrier, but gets on around cleanly. We're going to take a look at the time here at the stripe, and there you can see the 25 relatively clean all the way around. A little bit of a wiggle coming out of turn 4, but that's about the status quo for most of these drivers. And looking at the time, 2.1 or 2.4, 2.5 seconds. So not really gaining too much on the leader. But at this point, if the caution comes out, really going to be a drag race between the 77 and the 25.
Hartwell has closed a tenth a lap each of the last 2 laps. That is not going to be enough to reel in a race leader Mark Whitley. He needs to really drop the hammer here and start to close in. 10 laps to go this time by. Let's see what happens to the gap. It extends by about 0.08 of a second. So Hartwell loses on that lap, putting the advantage back to Mark Whitley in the 77 machine. So things looking good for Whitley, the points leader. This is the first race of the second half of this season. He came in to this race with a 9-point lead over Hunter Hayward. So to be able to beat him potentially now by 2 positions, maybe even a third, there's only half a second between the 21 and the 32. You start to think about the championship at this point, Paul, as we are now on the downhill slope of the season. This is everything that Mark Whitley wants to have to go in his direction and really make a push for this championship.
Absolutely. You want to get everything you can, especially with the momentum. That's one of the biggest things when you're racing for a championship is you need to know that you've got some top 3s, top 5s, and a couple of wins kind of sprinkled on in there. Because you don't really want to go in. It depends, really. It depends on the driver, depends on the situation. You don't necessarily want to go in as the underdog. You want to go in there knowing that everybody in there knows that you mean business. But then the flip side of that is if you go in as the underdog, you kind of get the underdog feel of it. You know, you get the fans kind of pushing behind you. They want to see the underdog win, and it's one of those deals where you kind of have to flip a coin and see which end you want to go into it. But momentum definitely a big thing as you're racing for a championship, and especially racing into the playoff setup that they've got going on here at Sim Racing Unleashed, and just really doing a great job kind of holding the position number 2, really stretched out the lead on the third place driver, 1.5 seconds, the gap between second and third place Hunter Hayward, but still not really gaining too much on Mark Whitley. The 77 really putting down some quick times, a 29.806 last time by for the 77, and the 25 was very close with a 29.810. So not really making up any kind of time there for the second place driver. And there you can see almost identical lap times again, an 8.89 versus an 8.04. Brandon Hartwell being just a little bit quicker. Check that. That's a 5.07 that time by for Mark Whitley and a 7.07 for the 25. So not really gaining any kind of time here for the second place driver, the 25, Brandon Hartwell, but Mark Whitley really still holding tough, and he's even working some lap traffic there with just about 5 laps to go.
24 machine to Jason Adams in front of your race leader here. Whitley trying to do what he can to get around him quickly. The gap keeps fluctuating back and forth. It's a seesaw match right now. Whitley will pull away, then Hartwell will close in. Whitley will pull away, Hartwell closes back in. Lap traffic gets out of the way for the 77. He will go high and around him off a turn 4 this time by. 4 laps of racing to go for Mark Whitley, your points leader here in the Sim Racing Unleashed Cup Series, trying to go to victory lane for the second time this season, doing what he can to extend his championship lead, put on a clinic here at the Darlington Raceway between him and Hunter Hayward throughout this race. He's got the advantage late and is trying to pull away to go to victory lane.
There you can see Mark Whitley struggling to kind of get around the 27 car. Saw him get into the wall a little bit earlier there. David Neese, so you can see, pulls down on the inside. Gentleman move there, lets the leader get on by. Didn't really want to affect the outcome of this race a little bit. 3 laps to go on the board, and was able to close in the gap a couple of tenths there, 2.3 now the gap between first and second. But Brandon Harbaugh going to have to deal with this same lap traffic that the 77 did, but still doing a great job holding on to the lead here. We're going to cross the stripe. The leader, Mark Whitley, going to cross the stripe. Popsicle sticks in the air. 2 laps to go here at Darlington International Raceway.
That car wiggles just a little bit more coming off of turn number 4. He's had to battle that all night long, but he's been able to do a great job of keeping the car going in the right direction. He opens the lead back up by another 2 tenths that time by. He's got the advantage. He's got the gap. He's got clean track ahead of him. There is a lapped car up there in the distance, but I don't think he is going to catch the 88 of Chris Miller. This should be a smooth final lap. He will come off of turn number 4 and see the white flag in the air one more time around the track. Too tough to tame Mark Whitley. It was a back and forth battle between him and Hunter Hayward in the beginning of this race. Seemed like whoever got the better restart was able to drive away and pull ahead out to the lead. When it mattered the most, Whitley did it. Pulls out to the race lead, 2.5 second gap over Brendan Hartwell. It fluctuated, but it never closed. Through 3 and 4 for the final time. Win number 2 on the horizon, and he will get it. Your points leader, Mark Whitley, goes to victory lane for the second time this season here at Darlington Raceway. The Jeff Gordon car goes back to victory lane. Paul, I know that's going to make you just as happy as it does me, both of us being former Jeff Gordon fans. Great run by Brendan Hartwell tonight. He will finish in the runner-up position. Hunter Hayward hangs on to position number 3. Joseph McWhorter is 4th, and Michael Yarrow saw how strong he was throughout this race, wasn't able to really pick up the pace towards the end of this race, but still a top 5 effort for the 95. Todd Neeson, the 26, will finish in position number 6. Stephen Leffler is in 7th. Lane Doyle finishes in 8th. Dakota Bryan in 9th, and James Bryan completes your top 10 in the 0-4.
Take a look for 11th on back. Luke Peters, a rookie in the number 50, finishes 11th as the 77 burns him down in the front of the racetrack, or on the front stretch there. Braden Karras in the 91 finishes 12th. Chris Miller, after that little bit of an incident in the 88, finishes 13th, the last car on the lead lap. David Neese, Nicholas Luby, Jason Adams, Art Milner, Milne, Luke LaFaro, Dylan Helms, and Mark Kostick rounding out the top 20. And there you can see the third page there. Drivers finishing a few laps down. Brad Delph, Jason Anderson, Steven Stepien, Dave Bush, Brian Bartlett, Aaron Bradford, Buzz, and Keith Haney, Robert Cheswick rounding out the 29 driver field. But all the way back out front, still burning them down. Mark Whitley in the number 77 car doing a fantastic burnout. That's got to be up there with one of the better burnouts we've seen here on Vidain TV as he blows the motor up.
Pop goes the motor on the 77, burned it down to its end. Mark Whitley, the victor here at the Darlington Raceway tonight. It was a very fun race to watch here. Paul redeemed themselves after a tough race at the Martinsville Speedway last week. I'm sure everybody in much better spirits, and a great product to watch tonight. Very interesting to see how this one played out, and now we get the opportunity to hear from your race winner, Mark Whitley himself. Mark, fantastic job tonight, leading 86 of the 147 laps in tonight's contest. Take us through it, my man. You had a very intense race with Hunter Hayward. You come out on top of it and go to victory lane for the second time.
Oh, yeah. This is, I know a lot of people don't like this track, but I don't think I've ever won here, and this is like one of my favorite tracks in real life, and it's kind of, whole night was up and down, back and forth, and highs and lows, and it's just, I'm just exhausted right now, honestly.
It was a very interesting race to watch between you and Hunter Hayward. You two seemed very competitive and honestly fairly even throughout the majority of this race. But it seemed like whoever got the advantage off the restart was able to pull away and didn't really open the other driver up for an opportunity to battle with it. Was clean air that important tonight, or was it just the initial launch off the restarts that meant so much?
Clean air was probably the biggest determining factor tonight because the car drove so much better out in clean air. There was a couple times I was able to pass Hunter one time, but the other time I just burned my tires up trying to get around him because it handled so bad, and you had to drive it so much harder when you were behind the other car, and it was just about trying to get a good restart there. I almost got a little close to jumping the restart, I think, but I was more focused on him, even though I was the leader. I was more focused on him, so we have to go on green, and he started rolling a little bit, so I burnt it, and I was like, oh shit, the green didn't come out yet, so I had to get back off of it, and then it went back out, so it almost cost me there. But the whole race, me and him, I think for the most part, were the class of the field, and it was just a matter of who could stay out in front. And this track's already hard enough to pass, especially as close as we were. I feel like if no other cars on track and me and him were just hot lapping, like in the lap, I might have been a little bit better than him, but it wasn't enough to make the difference with the aero. That was the big key in that last restart, just getting out front and just try to run away and don't knock the wall down trying to run away from them.
6 races to go. Victory number 2 for you on the season gives you an opportunity to extend your points lead. How important is it to win at this stage in the season? You only had 9 points coming into it. You beat Hunter Hayward by 2 spots. You extend that points lead. What's it going to take to continue this run and make a serious push for the championship?
Yeah, wins are a big deal. We got 2 drop weeks, so it's just a matter of figuring out, try not to minimize mistakes, but you got 2 drop weeks in case you do. But right now, it's just all about getting as good a finish as you can. That's second win. I probably should have more early in the year, but coulda, shoulda, woulda. It doesn't really matter. So right now, it's just about getting as much. If you don't win, trying to get as close as you can, leading the most laps, trying to get as many bonus points as you can, just trying to stay ahead and not try to get behind. It's hard to make up points, especially when you got drop weeks. So I'm just trying to keep extending that lead, and hopefully by the time we get to Talladega, I can just use that as my drop week and won't have to worry about it. But it's going to be a close race the rest of the season. That kid, he's picked it up so much since I joined this league last season. Hats off to him because he went from a midfield car to constantly top 3, top 2, like best car. Like whenever you roll off the trailer in these races, you're going to have to worry about him if you're wanting to win.
Well, you did the best you could tonight to keep things and momentum going in your way. Going back to victory lane here, who would you like to thank for the run?
I want to thank my parents. I know they were tuning in. I think they already texted me. I haven't looked at my phone yet, but my wonderful fiance, obviously, she's always putting up with my mess on the race nights. And got to thank my teammates, Driven Motorsports. I know Joseph, he was having a pretty good run. He doesn't really like this track. And I'd like to thank y'all putting on the awesome broadcast and the fans tuning in. It's a special win for me. The paint scheme I was running, it was the last. Jeff Gordon used to be my favorite driver, and the last win I was able to see was when he won here at Darlington with the old Stanley Steamer. So I tried to find that paint scheme, and I just kind of emotional being able to bring that to victory lane.
It's great for us too. Paul and I were both Jeff Gordon fans growing up, so a whole group of Jeff Gordon fans happy up here in the booth for this victory. Mark, congratulations. We'll see you next week at Atlanta.
I appreciate it. And this is my first win at Darlington. I've run here so much since I've been on iRacing. I can't believe I finally got my first win here.
Always great to add a new track to the wins list, especially one that is so challenging in the Darlington Raceway. Mark Whitley, the winner of tonight's Sim Racing Unleashed Cup Series event here at the Darlington Raceway. He tames the track too tough to tame, and I will send things on over to Paul to
Catching up with second place driver Brandon Hartwell, really making it work in the top 5. Pardon me, really making it work in the top 5 there, and just a hard drive towards the end of the race, finishing up in that second position. Brandon, great run here tonight. Talk to us about your race.
I don't know. I know Darlington, you go and try racing your competitors, you're just going to smoke that wall and mess something up, so you just got to drive the track and do what you do.
Absolutely, and definitely did it very well here. Taking a peek at the replay here, the last couple of laps, really not any damage on that race car, clean all the way around. A little bit of rubber buildup, but definitely something we see here at Darlington all the time. Didn't really have any run-ins with the wall or any run-ins with the other tracks, so that's definitely good news. And did you have any kind of other pit strategy other than pretty much breaking it down into two separate or three separate runs?
Before that last caution came out with like 40 to go or so, I was gonna pit in the next 5 laps just to try to get a jump on the leader, and of course we got a caution. But yeah, just try to keep it clean all race and hopefully get some spots at the end. I know I started fourth, but I would have really liked to get a win there. I won here last season, and
Probably another 20 laps or so. I think definitely would have been a contender. But man, that 77 was quick all night long, and you were definitely quick as well here. Lots of pretty colors on that 25 car. Who makes it done? Who's the sponsors? Anybody, family, friends that you want to give a shout out to? The floor is all yours.
your shout out to the league for putting on a good show. Broadcast, you guys put on a hell of a show every week. I know last week was a bit of a cluster, but it happened. Huntington's disease. We got a sponsor on the car. Shout out to my wife's mother who passed away.
Very sorry to hear that, but a great run here for the 25s team. Brandon, we're looking forward to next week. You got anything for them?
Oh, I don't even know where we're at next week, but I'm gonna give it hell.
Absolutely. Well, a great run here tonight, and congratulations on a second place finish. And Kyle, you're a little bit further down pit road, going to finish up with the third place finisher, the number 21 of Hunter Hayward.
Yeah, down here with Hunter, who was on the other side of the battle tonight, the only other driver to lead laps with Mark Whitley. Hunter, a very back and forth battle between you and Mark Whitley all night long. Unfortunately, you come out on the shorter end. Seems like as this race progressed, you started to struggle just a little bit and fell off. What was it like from inside the car tonight?
Well, I knew we were going into this race. We had a ton of practice. I knew we had a really good setup, especially in the corners in the longer run. And while I was practicing, I was talking with my teammates. We both noticed a trend of how much stronger Dirty Air is with this new iRacing update. And man, I'm telling you that the Dirty Air just it kills your tires. It kind of mimics the line of the car in front of you, and it makes it much tighter. That it just destroys your tires much quicker than when you're in clean air. And I tried to give it my best with Whitley, but the clean air just destroyed it so much that it kind of put me in the wall a little bit and gave up my second position to Hartwell, who had a great race as well. But I was just giving my all to the 77, and he just ran a little bit better of a race than me.
Mark mentioned the same thing in his interview, talking about how important the clean air was. And it was really fascinating to watch that battle between you two. Seemed that whoever got the better starts on the restart was able to pull away. You two had very similar race cars in strength, but that clean air, as you mentioned, being the biggest determinant of that. The two of you in a very tight points battle here. Of course, he's going to have the slight edge after this one. 6 races left to go. How do we step the performance up and make this 21 car a strong contender to get that championship?
Well, knowing from last season of how I also got that championship, I feel like just keep going to the same motto I did last year, and it's just be patient and just keep doing what I'm doing. I know we have a quick car every week in and out, and I just got to stay patient, especially in the long run, save up my stuff, keep the tires below me, and I know usually in the long run I have an advantage over that 77 for a couple races. So, yeah.
Next week we go to the Atlanta Motor Speedway, and while that track is completely different in the layout compared to this one, both of those racetracks are drivers' tracks. So is there anything that you can take from this race and apply it to Atlanta to make yourself good, or is it a completely fresh slate when trying to figure things out for that race?
You know, it's kind of apply and adapt and also fresh slate. So it's going to be interesting. I'm going to get as much practice as I can, but all I know is that it's a really high banked 1.5 mile track that it's really bumpy, and you got to be really careful with the car all around, short and long run, and you got to be really easy with it. So just like this track where you got to be into a rhythm and be patient, especially when one little mistake can send you all around. And I'm going to apply and adapt from what I did this race. Just stay patient, try to find the perfect setup, build around that, and see what I can do next week at Atlanta.
Should be fun to watch, Hunter. It was fun to watch you here tonight. Who would you like to thank for the third place run?
I'd like to thank my teammates out there, everyone who's helped me practice week in and week out. Steven Stippian, Dave Bush, and who made his return, Jason Anderson, this week. I know they had a really tough race this week, and they all had to put the car behind the wall early, which is still a heartbreak. But all of us are looking forward to Atlanta next week. All my family out there watching. I love all y'all. You guys for putting up these broadcasts. Y'all do a great job. I'm looking forward to look back at this after the race. This league for letting me in. Very thankful for that. And yeah.
That's your third place finisher tonight. Hunter Hayward had a fantastic battle with Mark Whitley throughout this race. Comes up short in the end, but still a strong run here at Darlington Raceway. Paul, what a race that we saw here tonight. Lots of green flag action, lots of slipping and sliding, drivers making mistakes, really getting tested by this racetrack. Nothing out of the ordinary from what we would expect here. And we get to do it all over again next Sunday night at another one of NASCAR's most entertaining mile-and-a-half tracks at the Atlanta Motor Speedway.
Yeah, for sure. And Darlington Speedway, whether it's real life or in the simulation or iRacing, really the cream really does rise to the top. A lot of drivers kind of struggle with this racetrack, so we usually only see the same 3, 4, maybe half dozen drivers or so up in the top 5, top 10 throughout the night. So it's kind of difficult to go through the entire field throughout the entire race. A lot of drivers kind of struggle just a little bit, but not the end of the world. And a phenomenal race put on by these guys here at Sim Racing Unleashed. And want to have one more quick little interview here for the post-race show before we call it good. The driver, the number 24, we saw him just lose one more lap there right at the end there, but came home in the 16th position. Jason Adams, you got a copy?
Yes, sir. I got you.
Yeah, finished 16th, 3 laps down here tonight. Struggled just a little bit, but it doesn't look like there was too much damage on the 24 City Chevrolet car there. A little throwback to Days of Thunder, if you will. Talk to us about your race.
Yes, sir. I had a pretty rough practice going on. This is a tough track for me. Had a lot of incidents. Kind of worked it out during the race and tried to stay clean and tried to stay off that wall, but this is a pretty tough track.
For sure, and we got City Chevrolet in the green and yellow colors. One of my favorite paint schemes pretty much in the history of racing. Always cool to see that thing on the track, especially at a throwback track here like Darlington. But we've got Atlanta next week. You got anything for them?
Not sure yet. Hadn't raced in Atlanta in a while, but pretty sure hopefully we'll see the 24 in the top 10 next week.
Absolutely. We got City Chevy on the hood and the quarter panels. Who else gets it done for the number 24 team?
Well, I'd like to thank my wife and all that for allowing me to sit here all week and get this practice done and try to learn these tracks and try to better myself, brother.
Absolutely, and big old track coming up next week, Atlanta Motor Speedway, Hotlanta, if you will, and really looking forward to that. Guys been putting on a great show here the past couple of Sunday nights, and a great race here tonight at Darlington as well. So we'll see you next week at Atlanta. Hopefully we'll see you up front.
Sure.
That's Jason Adams there in the number 24 machine, just kind of rounding out the field, as it were, in the post-race show here. Kyle, great run tonight here at Darlington. Very impressed with these guys. This track is very, very difficult to kind of maneuver throughout, especially when you got long green flag runs. You've got the tire fall off and all that stuff. But these guys made it look easy, especially the guys running up front, Whitley, Hartwell, Hayward. Those guys really put on a show in the top 3. Really, really difficult for anybody to kind of get up there and battle with those guys.
Yeah, and it was interesting to hear about the clean air and versus the dirty air aspect. Didn't really pay too much attention to the build notes, and that's something that we'll have to keep in mind as we continue on with not only this Sim Racing Unleashed Cup Series, but with the other Cup Racing Series that we have here on Vidane TV. New week starting up tomorrow night. The regular season for iRacing gets kicked off tomorrow night as well. Daylight savings time just starting in, so a lot of new and fresh things to look forward to. And something tells me, I mean, I don't know, I'm not like an expert or anything, but I have a feeling you can probably fill us in what's to come here this upcoming week on Vidane TV.
Yeah, really got to fire that secretary for getting to update the cue card there once again. But tomorrow night we've got Tim's Corner Live kicking off at 7:30 or 7 o'clock Eastern time tomorrow night. Don't have the guest list in front of me, but we've got some big names, according to Tim Terry from Tim's Corner Motorsports, from the Maritime Canada racing scene, and going to be talking to some drivers there with Tim Terry, Dylan Langile, and Denver. Always fun to do that on Monday night. We've got the Sim 500 Trans Service Cup Series tomorrow night. Pardon me. At 9:15 right after the fact. Tuesday nights, I believe we're actually off Tuesday night, which is pretty exciting. Going to hit up some Taco Tuesday action here, but then back Wednesday for another doubleheader, the Tim's Corner Motorsports Weekly Racing Series Twin 75s at Nashville Fairgrounds. The Fatheads Cup Series is actually off this week, as are the NEPS Grand National Series. They have crowned their champion last week, John Peters, Johnny Two Belts, as it were. So congratulations again goes out to the 51 camp. And then Sunday night, right back here once again, we alluded to it before, Atlanta Motor Speedway for Sim Racing Unleashed. Really looking forward to that one. That is a bad fast track, and it's always fun to watch the cup cars run at that 1.5 miles. But that's going to wrap it up here for here at us Vidane TV, Sim Racing Unleashed, having a great race here at Darlington, and congratulations to the number 77 of Whitley for bringing it on home. I am Showtime Paul Strickland Jr., alongside me, as always, Kyle Young, and from everybody here at Vidane TV, Sim Racing Unleashed, Kong Beer Bong, and all of our sponsors, partners, fans, family, and everybody else that's tuned in here tonight. Thank you so much for coming out. We'll catch you on the flip side when we do. We're going to be doing it. We're going to be doing it. We're going to be doing it live. Thanks for coming out. Have yourselves a fantastic night.